I'm not going to attach fan art to this one because of what y'all have told me is in here. And I feel weird about that if that's the case. So, Trump allies push president to call on Max Miller to drop out amid abuse allegations. Okay? So, this dude. Allies of Donald Trump are pushing the president to encourage embattled Republican Representative Max Miller to drop his re-election bid, according to 4 sources familiar on the matter, amid claims of domestic abuse from his ex-wife and pressure from his former father-in-law, Senator Bernie Moreno. As concerns have grown around Miller's electability, some top House Republicans have phoned White House officials asking for help. One of the people told CNN those members specifically want Trump to ask for Miller to drop out before the deadline for him to appear on the ballot, that person said. Okay, so it's the same kind of thing that happened with Platner, but I don't know the specifics on the situation. So let's see here. Trump has privately told some allies he doesn't believe Miller can win the race, given the accusations, and that he should drop out. One source familiar with the internal conversation told CNN. Miller again insisted in a statement Monday that he would not drop his re-election bid. I mean, Platner said the same thing. If I drop out of this race, it would mean that we as a nation have fallen so far from our American values. I will not validate false claims by removing myself just to please the court of public opinion. I am innocent of all the allegations that have been attributed to me. I have done well representing my constituents' interests. Why would I drop out? Over the weekend, Moreno said that his ex-son-in-law should not serve in Congress. Some in Trump circle lamented on Monday that the senator waited so long to directly condemn Miller, worrying it may now be too late to convince the president and GOP to mount a full-on court press necessary to push him out of the race. Forgotten Dreamer says, you hear about the Christian militia? No, I did not. That's new. So there's a twofold deadline for Miller to drop out, according to the Ohio Secretary of State's office. If Miller were to withdraw prior to close of business on Tuesday, a special primary would be held to fill the vacancy. However, were he to withdraw from the race after that Tuesday deadline, party leaders could have a narrow window to replace him. Okay, let's talk about the actual thing. I don't care what the Republicans do here. I wish the party would disappear. So, ex-wife, whose father is a Republican senator, accuses Miller of abuse. Okay. Miller married Emily Moreno, daughter of Senator Moreno of Ohio, at the Trump National Golf Club in New Jersey in 2022. That's fairly recent. The next year, Miller filed for divorce, and it was finalized in 2025 after they had a daughter in 2023. So they were together for 2 years and then got divorced. Okay. Emily Moreno accused Miller of multiple instances of domestic abuse. Moreno described the abuse allegations, including an incident where she said he held a gun to her. Okay. So whereas with the Platner situation, it was, hey, this person got drunk and they got blackout drunk and they did stupid, harmful, abusive shit while blackout drunk. This is far beyond the pale. Both are bad. But I think the type of person that holds a gun to you is one of the worst kinds of people. The February interviews were part of a police investigation into how Miller and Moreno's toddler's daughter suffered a broken collarbone. No charges were filed in connection with the case. Wait, how do you break your kid's collarbone? Jessica says, to be fair, Platner had a Nazi tattoo, so fuck him too. Yeah, and he immediately got it removed the nanosecond that people requested him to. Like, I'm sorry, but person did dumb thing prior in their life and then reconciled it. I didn't know that. How? How do people not know that? He made it a super public thing that he got the thing fucking covered up. Said, why did they do that in the first place? According to him, he didn't know. Also, I don't give a shit in general. If the person's entire story, and this is the last thing I'll say on the Platner thing, because I think that the way that we handle this is fucking dumb. I'm just going to say that with no uncertain terms. The way that we handle this shit is fucking dumb. If a person gets a Nazi tattoo, there's scenario A where they didn't realize it was, and Pan says, is the Nazi symbol technically a religious symbol, or is it not anymore because of World War II? No, we're not doing that either. We're not doing this what is the swastika thing, because that's not what it was anyway. There's a scenario where you didn't know what the Totenkopf was, specifically, and just thought it was a cool skull tattoo. And then there's the other situation where you knew what it was wholeheartedly, but the person you were when you got it is different than the person you are now. So, as somebody who still believed that the person that Graham Platner was a horrible person, and the person he is right now might not necessarily be that person, And I think that if we are going to ever, once ever in the history of fuck all ever, have the opinion, literally ever, that people can reform, we need to actually put our money where our mouth is and give them the fucking room to reform. I'm sorry, but this whole like, aha, you did a bad thing, therefore go away. No, fuck off. Let people actually reform. Let people actually learn to do better. If you aren't willing to do that, then just say that you're pro-death penalty. Just say that you're okay with everything the prison system does. Please, just do that, because that's consistent with the other opinion. If you are not willing to do that, if you are willing to say that we can do reform in prison and people who have been accused of a lot of crimes can become better people and come back out in society and be better, then accept that that extends to most people. But we have this weird way of viewing this where we pick and choose. We pick and choose what we think people can be reformed by, and we don't do it based on a consistent set of standards where we're like, yes, when the person has abused a child, that's our line. It's, well, when the court of public opinion has said one thing, that's our line. That's annoying as shit. I'm only for the death penalty if someone killed somebody on purpose, or if a kid was harmed. I mean, you have to be really drunk to do a periscope down. The captain tattooed the balls. Jesus fucking Christ. So doesn't Keg's Breath still have the Death Fold and Crusader Cross tattoos? Yes. Yes, he does. So it would probably be wise to remove the tattoo if he hasn't already. At the very least, he did. He did. Platner did that. That's a thing we did. That's a thing he did. That's a very public thing he did. Getting the tattoo covered. Hence, if he hasn't already, right? But the if he hasn't already part, maybe you didn't hear it, but I did say that earlier. Someone thinking Miller can be reformed? No, fuck off. No, I'm talking about I'm not saying Miller can be reformed or not. I am saying that when I mentioned the ways in which this reminds me of the Platner situation, a bunch of the fuck Platners because of things got put up in the chat, and so I started talking about those. Oh my god, drywall, my forehead, ram right the fuck in. I might actually eat it today. Today may be the day that I munch on the drywall. Anyway, the February interviews are part of a police investigation into how Miller and Moreno's toddler's daughter suffered a broken collarbone. Yeah, this shit right here is beyond the pale for me. This shit is beyond the pale for me. Once you start getting into child abuse, it becomes very, very hard for me to reconcile anything you do after that point. Moreno filed a request in court to reopen their custody agreement in March, where Miller filed a defamation case against his ex-wife in May. In an interview with CNN in June, Miller denied allegations of abusing his ex-wife and vowed to fight them to clear his name. He said the gun incident never happened and that he stores his guns in a locked safe. Moreno's attorney, Andrew Zashin, said in a statement in June that the court issued a restraining order to both parties and Emily is going to abide by it. Okay, so they're not allowed near each other at all. In a separate filing last week, a lawyer for Moreno asked a judge to issue a restraining order against the congressman, alleging that Miller grabbed him and another attorney's bag outside an Ohio courtroom. Miller sought to clear his name on a Sunday live stream on Twitter, in which he again denied allegations of abuse and vowed that he would stay in his race. You went on social media to try to clear your name? That feels ill-advised. That feels ill-advised. Jessa says pointing a gun at the head and having them in a lock safe are not mutually exclusive. Yeah, so like, I could say I couldn't have pulled my gun out at you. My gun's in its case, locked up. But then I could just go open my gun case and pull out my 9 or Saki's Smith & Wesson or my 22. Like, I could just pull those out of my case right now. My former wife is engaging in a pattern of reporting incredible, serious, and destructive allegations with absolutely no evidence. Every one of these allegations was investigated, and I cooperated fully every single time because I had nothing to hide. Cosmic Cat, think about the hydrate. He later added that I'm not getting out of this race and I'm winning in November. Shortly after his live stream, Bernie Moreno released his first extensive public comment on the relationship between his daughter and the former son-in-law. Moreno said Miller is a danger to his daughter and said that he is concerned every time Miller has custody of his granddaughter. I mean, I'd be concerned as well if a broken collarbone had been part of that. If there are any basic standards of character required to hold elective office, Max Miller fails them. He should not serve in the House of Representatives, said Moreno. Miller dismissed Moreno's statement later on Twitter, saying, "You know this isn't true, and the only reason you are speaking out is to hide from your own media circus." Miller is set to face Democrat Brian Poindexter in the midterms on November. I hope he stays in his race, because if this is the type of shit that people are going to see in regards to him, then maybe the Democrat has a better chance of winning. Zora says, I'm also, on an unrelated note, I'm also against the death penalty on a purely practical basis. Like, it's got nothing to do with me thinking people can always change and grow. I genuinely think there's no way to make it worth the hassle and innocent lives lost, especially since it's going to be wielded by the powers that be by definition. I agree with that too. I'm in two camps at the same time. One, practically speaking, I think that the death penalty is a very, very hard thing to justify. I don't think the state should be able to wield that level of violence against the people who live in the state. And at the same time, I also think that people should be given the opportunity to reform. And the death penalty robs them of that opportunity. And we've used the death penalty on people who were shown to be innocent later as well. So any number above 0 on that is a failure of that system entirely. But okay, this is a situation on Miller, apparently. And like I said, I hope he stays in the race. Because if this is how the Republicans see him, if this is how everybody is seeing him right now, then maybe the chance of the Democrat wins is infinitely higher. But if he wins, then now you've got somebody who's very, very abusive in power. So maybe that's a gamble. But even Trump thinks he can't win, so... let's see here. Sebi says, only time I see that being okay is like someone who has a huge body count, like a school shooter or things like that. Pandaneka says, or someone's caught touching kids. Sebi says, like, if your body count is over 0, then yeah, you take a life, yours is forfeit, but that's just me. Counterpoint, Sephi, gang violence. The amount of people that get forced into situations where they have to commit violence in order to prove their worth to a apparatus of people that they cannot survive without, do we hold them to the same standard? Like, I'm not even talking self-defense. Like, I'm not even talking that. Like, do we actually look at the socioeconomic systems that are hurting the person that does that? I know that that doesn't work with a school shooter. Like, when it's a school shooter, Pan says that's different, though. Right. The statement was body count above 0. So, God, I hate that's different, though, as a comment. Somebody says, I guess that's a morally gray area. Said also if they were convicted but are later exonerated. I never said that, serious. That was Jess. Pan, I know you didn't say that. I know I'm reading the chat. I know Jessica said that's different, though, in regards to what you said, Pan. I heard Pan, it's because of the way I was reading it. Sorry. Said to me, this is my thing. Yeah, but when your thing is your judgment on when a human life is able to be extinguished? No. Dezora says, but X crime is worth the death penalty. I don't care. Deadass, my stance is the government should not be allowed to kill people. Yeah, and I agree with that. Like, I understand having the perspective of, hey, this person committed this many atrocities. I don't think the state should be allowed to kill people. I don't. I think the minute you start making that exception, you start making more exceptions. And said that's different, though, purposely trying to get Suris mad. Jessica, if I didn't know any better, I would assume some things from that statement. Pan says, I'm under the opinion that people who do unspeakable things to kids should be under that penalty, but that's coming from someone who was a victim. No, and I can understand that perspective. I can. And I'm not going to try to argue against that perspective because I feel like that would be an insult to you and your own lived experience. But I've already made my opinion clear, and I'm not going to try to argue for it anymore there because, again, at that point, I'm wrestling with your lived experience as a victim, and I don't want to undermine that. Melody says, personally, I feel death penalty is a slippery slope because if someone can be innocent, so I'm 100% against it, they should be kept in prison, though, for the rest of their lives. So he says, but like the ones who I think deserve it are the ones, like they find the fact they took a life is funny or something like that. Yeah, but you could just get that person employed at an HOA. And then suddenly they'll be killing less people. Like, I remember reading something a while ago that the psychological profile for running an HOA and the psychological profile for being, like, a serial killer are damn near identical. I don't remember where I read that. Or if that was like an online joke. Oh, damn, that's scary. Same with billionaires. I mean, yeah, what's the difference between a billionaire and a serial killer? A serial killer has less money. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.